Hi everyone, and welcome back to Balkan Sis, the show that's going to help you navigate the massive challenges of life, motherhood, culture, identity, and belonging with more ease, acceptance, joy, and purpose. Thanks to each and every one of you that come back every time to listen, learn, heal, and feel inspired. If you do love the podcast, then do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. It really does help spread the word. Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back to another episode of Balkan Sis. I think we are up to episode 33. I've probably done more than that, to be honest. But I need to go through all my things and welcome to my everyday life, right? Where if you are a mother, if you're a woman, you would know all about lists and all the endless things that you have to do. Anyway, today is Wednesday, 8th of October, and it's 10:13 a.m. here on the Gold Coast. I just put my little daughter down to sleep, and I thought to myself, and I read the horrible news this morning of Halid Bešlić and his passing, and it just got me. I was just on Instagram, and then I saw a lovely lady that I follow. Her name's Aida. She lives in Germany. And I saw her post about Halid's passing, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna just jump on and talk. I have just been meaning to come on and talk for so long, and I always make these notes and I make these plans, and then the actual recording side of it, it's so difficult to snap out of your day and snap out of your everyday life. Like, to put in perspective, I'm quite literally sitting in my office and there's so much mess around me. There is absolutely shit everywhere. There's like cords, there's just things from work in here, there's things from the kid. Like, there's just so much in here. My office right now is not, the feng shui is not feeling that nice. And I just thought to myself, I don't want to wait for the perfect time. I don't want to wait for the perfect moment. And this morning I dropped my little one off. I put on a Halid Bešlić song. I was crying underneath my sunglasses and I was singing my little heart out. My daughter was in the back and she was bopping and dancing and it was super cute. And I just thought, I feel compelled to say something. I feel compelled to talk, to come on the mic, to share with you, and to see how you're all going and to see what's happening out there in the world. Like, the microphone is my way of communicating. I guess some people make reels and little videos, and I try to do that. I really do, and I love being creative. I love creating videos and content, but I just love speaking directly to my audience and putting my voice out there and projecting it far and wide. So I hope that wherever you're listening from today, you can reach out, you can connect with me, and hopefully find a little bit of, I don't know, solitude and comfort in this episode. I guess it's going to be a bit of everything, little moments, legacy, loneliness, village, community, identity, all those things that we Balkan people grapple with every single day. You would know if you're from the diaspora and you are not where you grew up. It can be quite a tumultuous road. It can be quite confusing. It can be quite hard to find your center in things. So that's exactly why I created this podcast. So if it is your first time listening, I want to welcome you. And if you have listened to so many episodes before this, I want to welcome you back again and say thank you for supporting me, for streaming, for playing the episodes, sharing them with your friends and family. Like I said, this is a passion project. I do this from the sincerity of my heart. Every now and then there might be sponsors in there or people that I really love and want to work with, and obviously that's a bonus. So if you're a business, if you're an influencer, if you're somebody and you want to get your name out there, please connect with me and I'd be more than happy to send through some details to you so that we can help keep this podcast afloat and going, because I do have 2 little kids. I have a family, we have a mortgage, and if you live in Australia, you bloody know how much a monthly mortgage is here. Debt is definitely king in Australia. So, not going to go down that rabbit hole today because stuff that. I'm not going to be talking about banks and debt and all of that crap. There's just so much that's happened this week or the last 2 weeks. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a recap because my audience deserves that. I want to see where you guys are at. I want to tell you where I'm at. and where the world is at as well, where we are as a collective. And we've just had the last 2 weeks has been school holidays, and my son has been at home. The Australian roster for school holidays is very different to school holidays in Europe, let's say. So over there, they have their peak season in the middle of the year, which is their summer. Over here, we are entering our summer at the end of the year. So for us, it really, look, to put in perspective, a month ago, there was already decorations for Halloween and decorations for Christmas. And now we're in October, that was already in September. So that's how early things start here. So it's quite wild. Here things revolve around Valentine's Day, all those peak holidays. It mainly revolves around spending and consumerism. So it's completely different. But yeah, Jane Goodall died. If you don't know who she is, Google her, look her up. We have a lot of her books. She was a doctor and she spent a lot of time with chimpanzees. She talks about climate change. She talks about so many different things. And we really love her. We loved reading her books. And yeah, she passed away, which was quite sad. I'm yet to watch the Netflix documentary that they put out after her death. I would like to watch that because, yeah, she says that she would like to put all the evil men from the planet on Elon Musk's rocket ship and send them up to another planet. So send them off into space. And I actually thought that was really witty and smart and funny and true. And so it's like with all these people, with all these monumental figures who are passing and dying, I guess it makes you wonder, what are you doing with your life? And I think death is always this prompter. What am I doing with my life? Where am I going? Like always waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the right time. And I know that's certainly been me in the last few months, like just waiting to clear out the office, waiting to set the correct vibe, waiting for the kids to fall asleep, waiting for work to slow down, like waiting. And then before you know it, you haven't done any of the things that light you up. You haven't done any of the things that make you happy, that make your soul come alive. So today I just thought, fuck it, I'm going to come on here. I'm going to share my little heart out. And if you guys saw the state of my office, like you'd really laugh because I'm such a neat and tidy person and there's just like stuff everywhere. Just from not having had the time to do it, like being with the kids 24/7. We don't have a live-in nanny. We don't have a nanny. We don't have any extra help in terms of someone living with us. My daughter doesn't go to childcare, so she's with me 7 days a week. So that's what life looks like right now. And it's like, how do I balance my ambition and my visions and my loves and my passions with that when, 99.9% of my life is wrapped up in being her mother, being Vito's mother, dropping him off to school, bringing him back, taking him to after school sports. Like, where do I fit in all of that? Where does my life and my wants and my needs fit into all of that? But she's napping now, and I'm going to just take the opportunity and come on the mic and come on and share and say hi because, yeah, the perfect opportunity or setting is never going to present itself. And I always preach that to my clients and people I work with. Get that whole perfect vision out of your head that you have in your head, take it out like a hard drive and throw it in the bin because, yes, sometimes those moments will be like that. But I think you just have to, as a parent, embrace the messiness. And on top of that, my computer is also shutting down every 10 minutes. So you might actually even hear it. I'm on this old laptop that's more than 10 years old, recording this in some random program because it's too old and none of my new programs work on here. So what I'm trying to say is it's not about the perfect setting or the perfect people or the perfect place or the perfect job, whatever. You just have to make the best and the most out of what you have to work with currently, right now, today, in this moment. So I hope that if you take anything away from this episode, it's that. And that's just the first 10 minutes. Now, I did on the weekend go on a lovely podcast. His name is Igman Chalshevich, and he has a YouTube channel. It's called IC Media. You can pop it into YouTube. You can subscribe, and he does interviews with people from overseas, from our motherlands, and here, like in our language. So yeah, I took my mum with me, and I really wanted her support because I'd be sharing my life story, and I didn't want to cry my heart out. Not that I did, actually. I thought I was going to cry, but I haven't. So that's a good sign because it means I've healed from a lot of things, which is really great. And I can share my story without absolutely bawling my eyes out, which is awesome. Took a lot of years to get there. And he invited me to come on the podcast. He lives in Brisbane, which is, to put in perspective, about an hour away from us, where I am on the Gold Coast. And a new place also just popped up called Balkan House, Queensland. They are in Slacks Creek. So to put that in perspective is they're halfway between Brisbane and Gold Coast. So I said to my mum, look, let's make it a date. You helped us so much because we were literally sick for a whole month. We all had influenza A. First, my son got unwell from school. Then my daughter, which was hard to watch. She's only a year old. Then it was me. Then it was my husband. And we were sick on and off for 4 to 5 weeks. It was absolutely, even now, I'm still losing my voice. And it's been a month and a half. It was absolutely dreadful, really dreadful. If you're a parent and you've had sick children and you've been sick yourself, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. That's a whole podcast for a whole other day, to be honest with you, on how to manage your life when, your children are unwell and you're unwell and life still moves forward. And my mum, like nobody else, wanted to walk through the door because they didn't want to get influenza A. They didn't want to get sick. And my mum, my beautiful mum, just walked through the door like an angel and took care of us and looked after us. So I'm super grateful. So I said to her, look, let's go to that place. Let's have some chavapi. They've got sarma, goulash, all of our favorites that we've grown up on. And I thought it'd be cool just to go check it out, have a coffee even. And we got there and I heard Nasha Muzika blasting. I think it was like Zdravko Čolić or something. And I thought, oh, this is so cool. And we went there and I bumped into this wonderful lady who I haven't seen in a long time, said hi to her, we're chatting. All I can hear is our language just circulating and buzzing all around the place, which was so cool to hear that. It felt like I was in the middle of Bosnia somewhere. And so, yeah, my mum and I, we got what we needed, whatnot. We ended up then driving to Iggy's place and then we were there for about an hour and a half, couple of hours, recorded the podcast. So I hope that's going to turn out well. He did ask me a question during the podcast where he said, and there was this one particular question that I guess I was remunerating on in my brain when he said, do you think it's easier for someone to adapt when they're younger or they're older? What do you think that experience is, or what do you think from your perspective? And I think I probably didn't articulate myself too well because I was a young person who was forced to flee and become a refugee at such a young age, between 4 and 5, and then again became a refugee at the age of 10 and 11, coming to Australia. So I was a refugee twice in my life, you could say, and that was all before I became even a preteen, a teenager. And he migrated or came as a refugee to Australia when he was about, I think, 16. So he was a lot older than me. And yeah, we reflected on those experiences and talked about that journey. And I said to him, look, I think it's not easier. There's a plus and a minus in everything. You're picking two evils, I guess you could say, because neither journey is easy. You're still a child. Your prefrontal cortex is not developed till you're 28. So you're still virtually a child in your brain, regardless whether you're 12, 13 or 15 or 16. You haven't got the skills to rationalize things in a certain way. And I said to him, oh, look, I think maybe it might be easier when you're a bit older because you know what's going on. You're aware. You can have better conversations. You can ask better questions. Like you're more aware. And the more awareness you have, the better because you're able to rationalize and regulate in different ways. Now, like talking in our language as well, I've got to say, I am fluent and I speak really well, but it's also just sometimes I struggle truly articulating myself because I speak so much English on a daily basis. I find there's more words in the English language to articulate yourself, I would say, compared to our language. Our language is a little bit different in that sense. So I feel like I'm one person when I'm talking in my language, in my mother tongue, and then also when I'm talking English. So it's like it's the same person, but two different versions, I guess you could say. And I said to him, I believe it's a little bit easy, not easier, but different when you are older. And he's, yeah, you can't miss something you never had. But the thing is, I did have it, right? I was only 4 years old, but I did have 4 to 5 years living in a village, in a town with my family, with my grandparents, living in an intergenerational home. That's things you can't replace. That's things you can't forget. If you ask your 5-year-old niece, nephew, son, daughter, and then they're 7, do you remember when you were 5 we went to here? Of course they would remember, especially such a significant event like a war. You do remember that. That's what people don't understand. I think they minimize the experience because, oh, you were young, like Shtastiznala, you were 2, you were 3, you were 4, but it doesn't matter. You're still a human. You're still a living organism. You still feel, you still remember, even if you don't clearly remember dates or times or whatever, you remember how things felt. And that's what people don't understand. And that's what I love around Dr. Gabor Mate's work. He talks about at the Holocaust and how his mother gave him as a baby to another person to look after him while she was trying to find ways to escape and bring him to safety. Otherwise, he would have died. And he talks about how that one significant moment impacted him for the rest of his life. And I was 5 already. So I don't think, when you're picking of the two lesser evils, I don't think there's one better than the other. I think it's just they're different. A fully formed person as well, like, struggle to adapt in the new society as well in different ways when they are a lot older, because I've seen it with my brother and my sister. And then with me, like, even though we're one big family and we experience that event as one big family, we also experience it so differently on an individual level. Like, you can't compare 5-year-old girl who went through a war compared to then a little boy, even, let's say, or like a baba or a dida or somebody. Yeah, that question really got me good, and I guess I didn't probably come reflecting back on it now as you do whenever you've been interviewed and you wish you answered things a little bit differently. But alas, I answered it how I did. So I hope that if you guys watch the YouTube video, you can comment, like, and share your journey and share your story and your thoughts on some things. I would love to, know how it was for you. So, that was really great. And then my mum was like, look, let's circle back and go back to that place and get your tata Chivapi and Andrew, like my husband and the kids. I was like, yeah, sure thing. So I spent like probably over $100 on Chivapi that day and pita and all this stuff. But I don't mind. I love supporting local businesses. I love supporting wherever they're from. And because I see their ambition, I see their drive, I see their passion. It's a young couple and 2 young people who are wonderful. And they got two young kids. They're really making a huge effort to make this place successful, and I really appreciate that. And I'm glad that I could be a small part of that kink in the chain. And oh God, there's just so much going on. There's just so much bloody going on. But anyway, shout out to the Balkan House in Queensland. If you're there, if you're here or near there, please make sure you visit and support them. Now, my book is still in the works. I guess this is all just one big update really on where I've been, maybe where you've been, where the world's been. But yeah, my book is still in the works. It's being illustrated, so I'm really excited about that. Can't share too much about that just yet. But yeah, I was hoping to have it done before Christmas, but it's probably not going to happen before Christmas. Reality. I have to work within the timeframes I have with young children. And also, we had so much illness for a whole month, which rendered me so unwell that I actually couldn't help even myself or my kids. So I ended up having to go to hospital. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to now that things are moving for the next 9 weeks until we head into the Christmas holidays. I will have a little bit more of a smoother rhythm where I'll be able to dedicate a little bit more to my passion project. So I'm excited to share more about the book. I did share a little tiny snippet on Instagram. It's pinned on my page, so you can have a look at just that small little illustration to get a taste and feel for what's to come. But I'm really excited about it. And the book itself, it's so much more than just like a children's book, I guess you could say. It encapsulates a whole experience that you get around being around your grandparents, your baba, your didas, and your nonna, your nonnos, whatever you call your grandparents, and growing up in a multi-generational home, growing up in a village. My whole neighborhood, all the children literally come to our place. And our house is, I guess you could say, the hub. Or I, as a walking person, am the hub. Because even when I go across the road and my son's playing with the kids, I'm always usually bringing them treats or food or snacks or something like that. And this one particular time I walked outside and all the kids are like, where's the platter? Where's the platter? Where's the watermelon? Where's the snacks? And I was like, oh my God. And I was exhausted. I was with the baby all day. She's wanting to start walking. So my back was broken. And then you get your period, being a female and all these things. And oh God, I was so depleted. And the kids are like, where's the food? Where's the platter? And I ended up going back inside the house. And my husband's, what are you doing? And I'm getting the lubenza out, the watermelon. And I start cutting it up. And I get out the little bananice, the chocolate bananas that like I grew up on, and I like put that in there. I put in a bunch of stuff. I take it all outside, popcorn, all these things, and they just go wild. Like they loved it. And even my son is, Mama, where's the snacks? I'm like, can I just have one night? Can somebody else bring out the snacks? But I guess, yeah, I am the hub. I am the village. I guess I am that person that I want my kids to feel like what I had felt growing up. So It is exhausting. It is hard work because I'm one person. And when I grew up in a village, it was multiple people around me. There was just dozens of people around me. I had cousins living next door, grandparents upstairs, siblings all around me. Whereas here on the Gold Coast, in my little quarter of the world where I live in, it's just me. And you might be experiencing that as well. Like you might be thinking, if you live in Canada or America and you're that go-to house with the food and things like that, you might be thinking, far out, that's me. Yeah, it can be quite tiring, but at the same time, we are responsible for giving our children a beautiful childhood, and that's exactly what I'm doing, and I'm sure so many other parents are doing as well. And yeah, Esther Perel said it really well. I had a friend who shared a quote with me from Instagram. I'm going to try and put in, if I can, a link even in the show notes, if I don't end up putting it here in the actual audio. But yeah, she talks about being the fringe friend or being the friend who does everything for everyone. And it really made me reflect on, who I am and my life and how I show up and what I do for others or what others do for me or might not do for me. And yeah, it really resonated with me. So yeah, like I said, if I don't get the chance to pop it into the audio today because of time restraints, with my little one, she seems to be stirring, wanting to wake up, I'll put it in the show notes. And I have to reshared it on my Instagram page as well. So you can have a look there. It's just, you might be that person who is the village who does everything for everyone. I hope that you can take a minute to pause and reflect on that, because if you're tired, don't quit, just rest. And I think we all have that Balkan switch in our heads, which is like all or nothing, that survival mentality that, if I can't do something now, that I can't do it at all. But I really want to encourage you to switch up your thinking and really just come back down to center and think, you know what? I can rest today. I can have a break, and then I can get back to all of my passion projects or my work or whatever it is that I have to do. And I don't feel bad about leaving the kids with your other half or with family or friends or people you trust, to just ground yourself and have a minute, because I think it's so important to do that as a mum, as a woman in this day and age, in this society. Because honestly, I love Instagram. It's my hangout place, but I'm on TikTok too, but not as often. But I always see things that really resonate with me. And one of the other things was, I saw a quote that I reshared as well, which was, the artist is a child who survived. And wow, that hit me so deep, because an artist for me is not just like a singer or, a person who draws or paints. It's a person who speaks. It's a person who shares, creates, basically gets things from inside and puts it out into the world in different formats, using different tools. So it could be creating a YouTube channel or a podcast, or it could be creating art on the wall. It could be creating art in whatever it is. But yeah, an artist is someone who's, I guess, a multidisciplined person, I guess you could say. And that really resonated with me as a child who surviving through creativity, love, and community. And it's so true. That truly hit me deep, because life is really truly about the small things. And so many years we spend just shrinking ourselves, being told by others we're not good enough, or internalizing other people's conditioning upon us, or what we should do and shouldn't do. And just the other day, my son said to me when I was talking to him, or I was singing or doing something, and he said to me, "Mama, I love your voice." And I was just paused, and I almost started crying, because I've been told so many times, indirectly or directly by other people, that I talk too much, that I need to calm down, that just in general, all the things females get told, to calm down, to be less off, to be this, to be that. I guess people are intimidated by that energy, intimidated by my truth, or into whatever it is that I'm doing is triggering them. And that's obviously a issue within them, not within me. And, when your own child who's 6.5 says to you, "Mama, I love your voice," oh God, that just was the wind beneath my back. That just gave me the biggest boost ever. And I thought to myself, you know what? He is so right. My child loves my voice. He loves me. In his eyes, I'm perfect. So then why do I shrink myself so much throughout the day? Why do I dilute myself so much for others, so that I'm more tolerable or less problematic or whatever it is? And you wouldn't know, being a Wog girl, when I say Wog girl or Balkan girl, you wouldn't know, being a girl in a European family, even in an Asian family, or in some sort of different culture, you wouldn't know how hard that is. Maybe you weren't encouraged to speak up. You weren't encouraged to have a voice. You weren't encouraged to do the things that the boys were doing. You weren't applauded for the things that your brothers were doing or your cousins or whatnot. And that, wow, like that just really got me. Yeah, I'm super stoked that I'm raising this kid. I'm super lucky, humbled, blessed in so many ways. And I'm just, oh, like I said, so lucky that I have him because he is my little reminder, when I'm feeling down on myself, when I'm feeling shit about myself, to not sticking to things, to not following through. Like so when I've got this sporadic routine, that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And your kids will always bring you back down to earth. And when you're feeling all sorts of ways about yourself, they are always going to be that little reminder to just come back down to center and to ground yourself and believe that you can do anything and you will, just maybe not all right now and not all at the same time. And yeah, so that's been our life the last few weeks. We had the Croatian tournament on here at the Croatian Club. We did all the signage for that, me and my husband, and like the wallpapers and things like that for our business, which is Fonzie Creative. So that was really cool, new, different and exciting. Great music, great vibe, great atmosphere. So it was really cool just to like dance and be part of something again. And because I haven't done that in so long, like been to a Zabava or a party or anything like that. And to hear the music blasting and be dancing kolo, like everybody got on the soccer field and did a massive kolo. And that was really cool. My son was there. I had a friend there with her kids too. And it was really cool to experience that and to show that to them and give that to them and share that moment together because you do. Yeah, you do sometimes forget when you are living, I guess you could say, in a different land, or you are living in a place where you weren't born, you growing up in a different society. It is much harder to stay plugged in. It really is. It's so much harder to stay plugged into the community. And you might not maybe feel like you belong in that community or that there is a community at all for you. Whatever your relationship is with that Balkan community, it can be complex and layered. So yeah, like it is much harder to stay connected, I would say wholeheartedly, because we live in Australia and so many of you live in Canada and America and Germany and different places, South America. It is much harder to stay close to your culture. And when you do marry someone who is not of your culture, that can also be tricky and be another layer because that person, even though my husband, he's actually part Croatian, we found out. His great grandmother is called Antonia Babic, and his mum did a DNA ancestry kit that I bought her for her birthday, and she's actually from our part of the world, like 50% of it anyway, through the grandma, my husband's grandma. So that was really cool. And he always said to me, I knew it. I knew that why I was so connected to the culture and marrying a girl from the Balkans and things like that. So that's really funny. That's a whole other episode in itself too, how your partner relates to your culture and how that all works out when you're raising children and values and mentality and how you are with each other, what you find normal, what they find normal. And yeah, honestly, it's all sorts of things. It's so many layers. And living in this society, the diaspora as a whole, there is so many of us just scattered all over the world. I often feel so disconnected from where I live, and then other times so plugged in and so connected to where I live. And whenever I meet people from our part of the world, like when we went to Balkan House here to that restaurant, we were talking to this, mum was talking to this lovely lady. Her name was Zuki, and we were talking to her for an hour. I think my mum was talking to her for so long. I was talking to one of the kids who works there. Like, it's just so easy to talk to one another. And the lady straight away, give me your phone number. Let's get phone numbers. Next time you guys come here, let's have a coffee. It was so beautiful and so wonderful and felt so communal. And the connection was just so raw. And my mum really liked her. She really liked my mum. And it just goes beyond culture. It's like it comes back down to values. I guess you would never maybe do that with a Aussie person. And even one of my good friends, Mary, a shout out to Mary, my kukla, she's Greek, and she spent 2 months in Greece, and she said she didn't feel lonely at all once. And as soon as she came back to her little town, or her little corner of the world here in Australia, it was a completely different feeling every single day. And of course, when you are on holidays, things are different, but I truly believe that because you're somewhere for 2 months and then you come back to where you live and back to the grind and your routine and things. And it's just such a different way of living. And like I said, neither is better than the other. Everything is just different and varied. And it depends where you are in your life right now. And that's exactly why I applied for citizenship for my kids, because maybe the opportunity one day will be to take them abroad, to give them a different experience for longer than just a holiday, so that they can really encapsulate that feeling, because there's only one me and I live in this different environment. Your environment calls in a lot as well. It really does. Your environment really shapes who you become and who you are, and it reshapes your values. And yeah, like, how can you be of a certain descent and be in America right now, or be anywhere else in the world? But even especially what's happening in America at the moment, far out. That's just, it's wild to watch. And I would say Australia is like the little mini America, the little mini UK. That's what we are. We end up semi-mimicking what those other Western countries are doing. But we have that mixed in flair with Asia as well, because of geographically where we're from. So there's a fusion down here. It's very strange. It's so far away from Europe and European culture and mentality and values and things like that. Yeah, look, there's a lot to say about that as well, but I have connected with some awesome people on the internet. I really have. I could shout them out for sure. And you keep on harping on about loneliness and identity and belonging and how other people are experiencing the world, how I'm experiencing the world. And there is so many guests who I want to come on. I will be honest with you guys and say that, like, my WhatsApp is just absolutely full with guests who are ready to go, who we just need to sort dates out. None of them are in my geographical location. They're all overseas. So like the time frames are really stuffed up. I do have an exciting guest coming on. She has planned to hire out a studio here on the Gold Coast, fly in, do an episode with me, which I'm really humbled by, and then fly back home. So I don't want to share too much. You're going to have to look out for that one, and hopefully that will all come to fruition, because things happen, things do change, and things fall through, and that's okay. So I think my biggest takeaway for you guys and for myself to cap this episode off would be to stay flexible, to be open for change, but also retain the basics and retain the things that make you, that make you special, that make you unique, that make you whoever you are. And I think don't back down on that. When you are a child growing up in a different society, in a different language, in a different environment that's not from where you were born, your life can be really tricky. It can. And this whole podcast is shaped around that. What it means to be a Balkan mom, what it means to be a Balkan sis, what it means to be a Balkan working girl, whatever it means to you, there's so many variations. And then, why we get affected, like when a singer dies, why is that such a big deal? Or anybody from over there passes and you're like, oh, why is that? Why am I so affected? Why do I feel something? And you are, whether you like it or not, there's always this invisible string between you and the place where you were born. And how you learn to navigate that and the skills that you pick up along the way to cope with that is up to you. And getting help and talking to people and talking to friends and talking to your family or people that you can confide in is so important. And I just find going through this journey, this messy middle of being a mom, of having these young kids and having all these responsibilities and carrying all those things, it can be really tricky. And talking to people that you trust, that you love, that have your back, that are going to be honest with you but also gentle with you is so important. So I hope that's what you take away from today. I am going to finish up on a Halid Bešlić song. It seems like this episode is going to take me the whole day to edit, but I have called on help. My mama, my beautiful mama, she doesn't drive. I'm actually going to order her an Uber, and she's going to come to my house so that I can zip around and do all the things that I need to do today, all my admin, all the podcast editing, keeping up the house, doing all the things, and try and cook some sort of wholesome meal as well amongst all of that, so we're not getting bloody takeout. But I just hope that, you enjoyed listening to this week's podcast. So many times I hold myself back when I want to record a podcast because I think, I'm not adding value. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking. What am I going to tell people? Things that they already don't know when they know everything, especially with the internet. What is there to talk? What's there left to talk about anymore? But I want to just remind you that, your perspective is unique. Who you are as an individual is unique as your fingerprint, and it's worth sharing. It really is. And as much as you dilute yourself and you might think, oh, I'm not that special. My story's not that special. I'm not going to write that blog. I'm not going to share that recipe, whatever it might be. What are people going to think? What are people going to think? That's a whole other, you know what? I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write it down. I had a lovely lady in my DMs actually just recently, a couple of months ago, and she was talking to me about wanting to be a professional photographer, wanting to do the business full time, and her father essentially saying, no, there's no bread in that, there's no income in that. And her sharing that with me, and she just had her third little baby as well. And we really dive deep into that conversation. And I'll let you guys know probably in the next few episodes how I handled that growing up, and maybe how she's handling it too, and maybe some different coping mechanisms that you can use to help you on your journey with that, because it's what are people going to think? That's a whole episode in itself, I believe. I really do, because I think it's so drenched in our conditioning and so deep in our culture. And at the end of the day, I just want to tell you, fuck what people think. And I know it could be your father or your mother or your brother or your sister or even your child or your partner. But at the end of the day, it's like that book Untamed that I read by Glennon Doyle, and she said, disappoint everybody else before you have to disappoint yourself. And it's so true. So don't sabotage you and your belief systems and who you are and what makes you concretely you to please others, because at the end of the day, you're just going to fall apart, and most people aren't even going to care. So anyway, like I said, it's a whole other episode for a whole other time. We're already in at 39 minutes, and by the time I add in the music at the front and the back and a few other things, it's already going to be an hour. But I just hope that wherever you are right now listening, I just, want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for being in this space. Thanks for tuning in and dedicating 40 minutes of your life to this episode, or an hour, however long it ends up being. And I hope that, you can share your journey with me and share this episode with your friends and your family. I see so much funny stuff like Balkan humor and Balkan culture, especially in America, I would say more than anything. Like about Balkan dads and Balkan. There's so much humor as well. And look, I love humor. I love to laugh. I'd like to think I'm a funny person and I say some fun stuff, but I really also don't think that there's enough space for Balkan sisters, like for that, how little girls like to sit in circles and share stories and have story time. And that's every time I think of this podcast, I think of that. Women sharing stuff with each other, even if it is virtually. I have thought about doing a live podcast recording and making it a huge event and bringing it together when my book is launched. I thought that would be super cool, and just getting people from all over Australia or wherever they want to come from and bringing them together and doing an episode. So let me know what you think about that. Let me know where you're from. Let me know if you're in Australia, if you're in America, if you're in Canada. I have people listening in Dubai. Like some of the streams that I see in the countries, I'm like, wow, there's Balkan people there? That's wild. So make sure that you comment in Spotify as well as the comment section. I'll add everything to the show notes that I mentioned throughout the episode of Esther Perel, and also the artist, the creative person was once a child who survived, and all these other little things that I find along the way that I want to share with you guys. But in the meantime, I hope you can go on YouTube, Spotify, wherever, find yourself some Halid Bešlić, play your favorite song. I'll try and find one of my favorites and attach it to the end of this audio recording. And just remind you that, you are just a sum of all these wonderful things that make you special, that make you unique and uniquely you. And one of the podcast episodes that I recorded was with the Healing Point podcast. She's in England, in the UK. You can also look up her podcast name on any platforms that you listen to. And when I spoke with her and had my session with her, she said to me, I'm so sorry that you did not grow up in the place where you were born. And that hit me so deep. Like, to mene toliko pogodilo u srce, my heart started bleeding. It was as if it was super hard, and then she just penetrated straight through. And I was like, oh my God, that encapsulates perfectly what I'm feeling. I'm sorry that you did not get to grow up in the place where you were born. And that, yeah, like I said, it really hit me deep. I sat on that for months, and probably also why I got sick, because I just had such a big emotional, physical release. And so that I hope that, yeah, if you're listening, you can as well really, really let that soak in. And that I want to remind you that you're a survivor, you're a warrior, you're a thriver, you're a person who's thriving also, not just surviving, and probably giving back so much to your community. I see so many wonderful resources now being born, books, flashcards, all sorts of creative plays and just things. And even this podcast was birthed from that place. So I encourage you, if you have an idea, if you have something niggling around in your head that you want to share with the world, and put it out there, put it out there. Because you look at Halid Bešlić, you look at Jane Goodall, you look at all these wonderful people and their body of work, they've passed away now. And whatever they've created while they were here in this world lives on. And I just truly love the concept of that. I love the concept of getting to create a body of work and then one day passing, to another planet, to another place, wherever I'm going to end up, and having that be your legacy, having that be something that still exists, something that people can still take away from and grow from, and something that your kids can listen to. And yeah, I love that. I love that concept. That's really what drives me and consumes me, to constantly create and have a body. And your whole life is your body of work. There's just so many lessons in your life that I'm sure you can write down, that you can put into something. So yeah, if you have been thinking to do something like that, I encourage you that you do. If you are in the process, good on you. Be patient. It takes time to create. It really does. And you can't rush the process. You can, but you're not going to be proud of it. And if you have already put something out, awesome. Please connect with me. Tell me what you've done, what you've created. I'll buy your book. I'll share you on my pages, on my socials. And yeah, I want to create that village and that community that I grew up in, but it looks different. It looks different, and that's okay. So thank you for joining me for another wonderful episode of Balkan Sis. I truly appreciate your presence and your attention, and I hope that you got some value out of this week's episode, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again. Ciao.
Na proplanku žena stoji, ko boginjanstva u cvijeću, bijelom rukom šudno maše, ko da nikad doći neću. Bijelom rukom šudno maše, ko da nikad doći neću. Hej Zoro, hej Zoro, hej Zoro, ne svani, ne svani, ne svani. Stara ljubavi, sa mnom ostani. Stara ljubavi, kuće čovjek dođe i pred kućom njenom stade, ali bagrem svog života jadan tužan ne poznade. Ali bagrem svog života jadan tužan ne poznade. Ej zoro, ej zoro, ej zoro, ne svani, ne svani, ne svani. Stara ljubavi, sa mnom ostani. Stara ljubavi, sa mnom ostani. Sa mnom ostani.
So that was the episode. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And as ever, if you did, please consider sharing it with your loved ones and leaving me a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. It really does make a difference to the number of Balkan sisters that we can reach with the brilliant wisdom that my guests and I share. Thanks for being here. I doviđenja.